All right, if you are watching this video, you are interested in 2-point perspective, where we have two vanishing points instead of one. We are going to borrow a few rules from 1-point perspective and then just add a little bit more complicated. For this, I'm going to use a pencil and a pen. The pencil is going to be kind of my guidelines, and then the pen lines over it will be the lines that I want to remain. We start the same way we do with 1-point perspective, and we're going to start with that horizon line, but instead of putting the one vanishing point in the center, we're going to have two vanishing points on either side of that of the paper. Now, in 1-point perspective, you start with your shape, like a square, and then you go to the one vanishing point. But in 2-point perspective, you're going to start with the center corner line. And so just follow along with me here, and definitely use a ruler if you're struggling with these straight lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to just draw a perfectly vertical line to start us off. Now, the top and the bottom of that vertical line are going to go to both vanishing points. Now, when you draw a vertical or a line to a vanishing point, that is called an orthogonal line. And so we're going to draw, you can use a ruler on this if you need to, 2 lines to the vanishing point and 2 lines to the vanishing point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the edges of our cube here. And so what we do for that is you can put your ruler on this central vertical and slide it over, or you can eyeball it on the edge of the paper here and making sure that it's perfectly vertical. Draw a vertical line there. And then I'm going to do it to the other side too. So I'm going to slide it over. Make a perfectly vertical line. So these 3 lines should be parallel to each other. So these 3 are all parallel. Now we only have 2 more lines to draw to complete the cube, and it's going to be from this point to the opposite side vanishing point, and this point to the opposite side vanishing point. So we're going to end up drawing a line this direction and this direction, and that's going to complete our cube on the top there. So now we have an accurate cube in 2-point perspective. Now that's just very, very basic. Of course, it can get more complicated as you add on some extra details. So we're going to do one more cube, except this time we're going to start the central line that we started with is going to be above the horizon line and below the horizon line. Let me go ahead and erase some of these guidelines so we don't get confused. This is the nice thing about using pencil and pen, is that you can just go ahead and give yourself a space there. So we're going to start with a vertical line, except this time it's going to go above and below. Same rule as before, you're going to take the bottom and the top of those lines and go to each vanishing point. That's your orthogonal lines. Like that. And now we're going to be cutting off those side edges just like we did before. So you're going to look at that vertical, slide it over because we know it's going to be parallel. Look at that vertical, slide it over and make a parallel line. And actually that is almost a simpler way to do accurate perspective, because now we have an entire building here in accurate perspective, and we didn't even need to draw the top of it because we wouldn't see the top of it. So let me go ahead and erase the horizon line in the middle because the building is not transparent, it's opaque. And you can also erase your guidelines if you need to. So we are going to use this central building, and I'm going to teach you how to do buildings on either side of it. Now on this side, you can simply add a building next to it by creating another orthogonal line. This is going to be the bottom of the building, and then you just cut it off with a vertical, and all of a sudden we have a building tucked in next to our first maybe on the same sidewalk. Now, what if there's a little alley here? I'm kind of erasing my guidelines as I go so it doesn't get too confusing. What if I want like a little alley and then a building? So what I'm gonna do for that is I'm going to, almost like I did this first one, I'm gonna tuck it behind. So I'm gonna leave some room for the alley. Let's have it go all the way up. It's a taller building. I'm gonna go from the top and bottom of my vanishing point to the top and bottom of my vertical. I'm gonna go to the vanishing point. And then I'm going to cut off the edge with verticals. And if you are unable to draw straight lines, you need to use a ruler. But I have done this for quite a while, so my lines are straight enough. And there's my little alleyway there. I still have a horizon line here. Now we can get even more complicated. Let's add a street and a sidewalk around here. So if I'm gonna add a sidewalk, I kind of treat this center line that we started with, anything I just draw to the right of it is gonna go to this vanishing point. Anything I draw to the left of it is gonna go to this vanishing point. So if I'm drawing a street coming up this way, I could draw my sidewalk going to this vanishing point. Could draw my sidewalk this way. If I wanted to add a curb, I could do another kind of skinnier one. Now, if I want to draw the lines of the sidewalk, I'm actually going to go to the opposite side vanishing point. So you'll notice that as I draw these in, they're pointed to that opposite side vanishing point, and they're getting closer and closer as they go away in space, like that. Same thing on this side. This one goes to the opposite side vanishing point, like that. If I wanted this little alleyway here, you could have this line go to the vanishing point, so you can have a sidewalk back here too. Now for the edge of the curb, it's just going to be straight vertical. So I'm just dropping it down vertical, and that gives you that three-dimensional look, like that. You could also add, like, maybe there's a road here, maybe there's a road coming out this way, so this line's going to the opposite side vanishing point. This road continues down here. This goes to the opposite side vanishing point. So then you can put in your little dashes. Maybe there's some dashes this way. Maybe there's a crosswalk right here, so all the tops and bottoms of the crosswalk are headed to this vanishing point. All the sides of the crosswalk is headed to the other vanishing point. So really, as you draw in 2-point perspective, you just need to think, are my lines either vertical or going to a vanishing point? If we're doing 1-point perspective, we asked ourselves, is it vertical, is it diagonal, or vertical, horizontal, or orthogonal? On 2-point perspective, you ask yourself, is it vertical or orthogonal? So if I was to do windows and doors, in 1-point perspective, if there is a building facing me, it's just a rectangle, but there's not a building facing me because we're starting on the corner here. So our rules for windows and doors is that the sides of them are straight up and down, and the top and bottom of them are going to the vanishing point on the side. So if I was going to do a door or window here, the top and bottom are going to the vanishing point. The sides are straight up and down. If my door was open, I can have a line going to the opposite side vanishing point, like that, to make it look open. Let's see, you can use this to draw just about anything. So you just need to keep in mind those basic rules. Let's say I did a like a sign up here, like a billboard, you can do the same thing, verticals going to, and then the top and bottom going orthogonal lines. And that is really basic 2-point perspective. You can use this as guidelines. So let's say I wanted trees of the same size, kind of going from here. So maybe my trees are kind of bigger to go small here. And just by remembering these really simple rules, we are creating space and we are creating depth in our artwork by following the perspective rules.